What's up, guys? I'm excited to bring this video to you. I'm going to take you through a case study of one of my favorite clients, Paul. This is a step-by-step blueprint of how I helped him put on 15 to 20 pounds of lean muscle mass. We also 10x his squat strength to where he was able to squat over 1 times his body weight for multiple reps. And that's just an amazing transformation, especially considering where he came from. He had zero experience going into this program. And that's why I'm so excited to bring this video to you, because it's such a good practical example for anyone who's trying to stay in shape or get in shape while working a 9 to 5 and being busy trying to pay bills. So it doesn't matter where you're starting or what your starting point is, you're going to find some value in this video if you want to build muscle, lose body fat, and just get strong and functional. So put your thinking caps on, take out your notepad. You can take notes of this stuff or even take screenshots while I go through the presentation. It's really helpful information for anyone out there. I promise you're going to find some value in this. So without further ado, let's get into it. Desk-ridden professionals. And that's pretty much anyone that's busy. You work a 9 to 5 job where you sit 6+ hours a day in front of a computer, lose up to 20 pounds of body fat, put on lean muscle, and build functional strength that eliminates bad posture in 180 days or less using the stack method. And this is all without having to spend hours in the gym, cutting out your favorite foods, or feeling like you have to flip your world upside down and become someone you're not in order to stay consistent. Now, before we dive in, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Nate. I've spent the last 10 years of my life training and coaching people towards their health goals. And I'm just excited to share this specific case study with you because it's a perfect example of what you can accomplish if you fully commit to a proven process. Now, this is my client, Paul, and I'm going to show you exactly how I helped him put on 15 to 20 pounds of lean muscle mass. We drastically improved his core strength and mobility in his shoulders and hips. And through that process, we were able to 10x his squat strength, not to mention bench press, pull-ups, deadlifts, and many other core functional movement patterns. Now, these are life-transforming results, especially when you consider Paul's background. He's a very busy software engineer who sits long hours in front of a computer all day, and that pretty much summed up his lifestyle for years. And when we started this program, he didn't have any previous gym experience. So his starting point was pretty much ground zero, and he was able to achieve all these results within a year, which is amazing, right? And it had a profound impact on his quality of life and his identity. And fitness and health is now just part of his DNA, which is a complete 180 to what it was before. And it's what makes this case study so practical for so many of you who are watching it. Now, before we go any further, there's a lot of clutter out there, and I just want to be as transparent as possible about who this program's for, who it'll help, and who it might not help. If you're busy and you're looking for the most efficient way to decrease your body fat percentage and put on lean muscle, this is for you. Look, I'm 32. I'm a husband. I'm a dad. I run a business where I work sometimes 60+ hours per week. I can't do the same things that I was doing 10 years ago to stay in shape. I just wouldn't be as productive. And if you're like me or Paul and you're busy, this can absolutely help you. There is an efficient way to go about things where you can get amazing shape without having to turn fitness into a complete life obsession. Now, if you sit for long hours of the day and you're experiencing stiff joints, or you just don't feel as physically capable as you'd like, this is for you. If you sit a desk job in that same hunched over position for long hours of the day, and if you don't do anything about it, that's going to have some impacts on your just general comfortability. And that's going to prevent you from performing the way you want to perform. You don't want to limit yourself at such a young age to only doing a specific style of workouts because, your joints hurt and you just don't have the ability to do so. So if you want to improve your ability to perform better, this is for you. Now, if you're a beginner with very little gym experience and you want to make sure you do things the right way so that you avoid injuries, this is for you. I've specifically built this method out with a beginner in mind, because I work with a lot of beginners like Paul. So definitely stick around. And if you're looking for sustainable results that you can maintain for the rest of your life, this is definitely for you, which goes hand in hand with my next point. If you're looking for a lifestyle transformation so that fitness and health become part of your identity, then this is for you. Right? Look, that's the ultimate goal. I became a coach 10 years ago to help people change their behaviors, and that's still my main mission. So the stack method isn't here to just help you get shredded and then ghost you in 12 weeks like a lot of programs do. It's designed to help you feel empowered to go take control of your health and actually give you the tools and equip you to be able to do so on your own, so you feel confident and you're able to maintain your new lifestyle. Now, on the flip side, who is this not for? If you are unwilling to commit to and trust a proven process for at least 6 months, this isn't for you. Look, you got to have a marathon mindset when it comes to fitness. There's going to be times where you just have to roll your sleeves up and dig your heels in the ground, which brings me to my next point. If you're not willing to put in the work and you're only looking for fast and easy solutions, this isn't for you. First of all, there's no such thing as easy street in fitness. You're going to have to put in effort if you want any results. Secondly, quick fixes rarely ever last. So sustainability is always going to be at the forefront in the stack method because it's a long-term quality solution. That's just what it is. So if you're not ready to commit to 4 to 5 hours per week towards your fitness and health, this isn't for you. If I could promise you that you'd only have to work out for 30 minutes per week and still look like David Beckham, I would. But that's just not realistic, especially if you work a desk job. So 4 to 5 hours is a minimum requirement, which I think is pretty reasonable. Now, if you only care about aesthetics, aka building as much muscle as you possibly can, and you're not all that interested in getting stronger and more functional in the process, this program might not be what you're looking for. I just want to be clear, this is not a bodybuilding program. There's a difference between bodybuilding style training, which is all about building as much muscle as you possibly can, and strength training, where the purpose is to get more functional and strong. And the stack method pulls from both styles. So you're going to build muscle, you're going to burn fat, but not at the expense of strength and functionality, which unfortunately a lot of programs do, because all they care about is getting you a six pack so they can show you off on their social media. And that's not what the stack method is about. You're going to be able to touch your toes. You're going to be able to move freely without feeling stiff all the time. And you're going to learn how to build quality functional movement patterns so you can feel more comfortable in your day to day and actually have the ability to lift heavy stuff and tap into your natural athletic abilities. And if that sounds like something you want, keep watching. We're going to go over it. Now, here's the truth about getting in shape while also trying to balance a full-time job with your home life and your social life that no one else will tell you. You can get a lot done in way less time than you think. And you can absolutely get the body you've always wanted, become stronger and more capable than you've ever felt, and completely transform your lifestyle in as little as 6 months. And you can do it efficiently and sustainably without following any extreme diets or crazy workout schedules that I know you see on social media. And the part no one wants to admit to you is that your time really is precious. Look, I know it's tough as you enter your 30s. You get busier. That's just what it is, right? Responsibilities keep piling up, which means you have less time for yourself. And this isn't just for people entering their 30s. This is really anyone that's in the workforce, right? That being said, it doesn't mean you can't be in great shape. It just means you have to follow an efficient strategy so that you can get to your goals without feeling like you're turning your life upside down. Where most people go wrong is they follow trends on social media that are simply unsustainable for the average person, when they should follow a proven process like the stack method that takes your lifestyle into consideration and meets you where you're at. And that's exactly what the stack method does. And it has 3 distinguishing factors that make it very effective. The first one is a science based approach to exercise. Now, science is pretty clear. You need to be performing exercises that build strong and lean muscles to help you burn more fat and move more efficiently. The second one is simplified nutrition. People fall for anything these days because they don't understand the basics, right? Knowing your macros and understanding how they all play an important role in your diet will help you make better decisions. If you don't understand, you're going to fall for all these crazy trends. And that's why people, they'll lose weight and then they'll gain it right back because they didn't build the habits that they need to out of understanding how to eat at a base level. So if you don't understand what food does for you and why it's good for you, you're missing the first most fundamental step. Now, the third factor is a white glove approach. All right, fitness has to be flexible enough to fit you like a glove. And this is probably the most important thing if you want to build a sustainable habit. If you try and do something that eliminates everything in your life that you enjoy, it's just not going to work out in the long run. But don't worry, I'm not going to let that happen to you. Here's a couple myths I want to address right now so you don't fall victim to this line of thinking. Now, there's no such thing as I'm too busy. All right. You can literally spend as little as 3 hours per week in the gym following this stack method and still get amazing results. And you don't have to spend hours working out, especially if you're sticking to your rest times and you have a concise program that doesn't beat around the bush. Now, there's no such thing as I have to eliminate blank XYZ from my diet. You don't have to cut out anything in order to get healthy and get results you want, especially if you enjoy it. You know, whether that's carbs, red meat, pizza, pasta, you name it, anything that you see dogmatic posts on social media tell you that it's the enemy and you have to stop eating it. It's just not true. All right, you can get results you want and still eat pizza or hamburgers. You just have to stick to the plan and be able to step back and see the big picture. There's no such thing as I just don't have the genetics. Now, while it's true, everyone technically has a genetic ceiling. That's true. But unless you're a high level athlete and you train for a living, you probably haven't gotten close to that point, which means there's so much room for improvement that's just ripe for the taking, especially when you start combining a good plan in the gym with good habits in the kitchen. There's really no telling what you can accomplish. And the truth is, everyone's 1,000% capable of getting stronger, building lean muscle, and getting a six pack to show in the mirror. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. Everyone can do that, whether you're the best athlete in the world or the worst athlete. So genetics really don't matter when it comes to that. It just takes effort and it takes discipline. And if you want that person to be you, I'll show you exactly how to exercise so you can build strong and lean muscles, how to structure your nutrition so you can decrease body fat percentage and burn stubborn fat, how to maximize your time so you only have to spend 3 to 4 hours per week in the gym, and how to do this all sustainably so you can maintain your results and your new lifestyle forever. Now, in case you don't know me, here's a brief backstory about how I got here. So, how it all started for me was with sports. I was always involved in sports growing up. I played football, I wrestled, I ran track in high school, and I was fortunate enough to play football in college, which was also the start of my academic journey towards coaching. And while I was at Cal Poly, I majored in kinesiology, that's exercise science. And between all of the intense workouts, the practices, the studying late nights, I learned a lot about how to use exercise and nutrition to improve performance. So this experience really shaped my perspective and my approach to training, which has always been through the lens of strength, performance, functionality. And as soon as I graduated from college in 2014, I got a job as a personal trainer in San Francisco, and I was able to leverage that skill set because people needed to learn how to move and they needed to get stronger, right? And in San Francisco, being a major tech hub, the majority of people I worked with, they sat in front of a computer pretty much all day, very similar to Paul. And just teaching them how to squat properly and improve their form while exercising had a huge impact on their joint mobility, their posture, their overall quality of life. because they felt more functional and more confident in their physical abilities. And at the same time, they were building lean muscle, they were burning fat and getting that definition they were looking for. So I did this for about 6 years, and I just got better and better at the skill of coaching and how to communicate exercise and nutrition in a way that was practical. Now, 2020 came around, which was a rough year for all trainers because gyms shut down. But one of the things, excuse me, but one of the things it did for me was force me to take a step back and think about where I wanted to take my life and my career. And a lot of beautiful stuff happened. I got married, we moved, had a kid, we got a dog, as you can see. And through all that transition, I began spending my time helping people online using the stack method. Now, at first, it was really supposed to be just a thing I was going to do until I found employment at another gym. But to my surprise, I ended up really enjoying it because people were getting crazy results. And something amazing was happening to my client's psyche and their mindset that in-person training just wasn't able to deliver on. They started developing the skill and the discipline that it takes to do this stuff successfully on your own without needing to pay someone to be watching over your shoulder, right? Essentially babysitting you the whole time. And this really brought me back to why I got into this in the first place, right? I wanted to help people change their behaviors on top of getting them their dream body. And that's why I'm making this video. I'm going to show you exactly how my client Paul was able to transform his lifestyle and take ownership of his health using the stack method. And the same blueprint that Paul used to transform his habits is the same blueprint you can use after watching this video. The stack method is my process that I built through my own trial and error over the last decade, turning science-based principles into practical solutions for hundreds of individuals just like Paul, helping them become the strongest version of themselves. Now I've decided to break it all down for you. Here's Paul when we first started at 129 pounds, and here he is currently at a lean 149, and he's front squatting over 1 times his body weight for multiple reps. That's huge progress functionally and aesthetically, and it just shows that it works. Now, in the following steps, I'll outline the entire process A to Z of what we did to accomplish these results so you too can use my stack method to build functional strength, put on lean muscle, and lose up to 10% of your body fat in 180 days or less. Now, if you're watching this and you're wondering, man, like Paul was lean going into this, I need to lose body fat. Well, the same principles that help Paul build 15 to 20 pounds of lean muscle are the same principles that are extremely important for you to lose fat sustainably and get strong, which anyone who wants to live a long and healthy life should strive for. So stick around. This applies to you too. Here's an example of my client Andrew, who lost 22 pounds in 5 months using the same muscle building principles, with the only difference being overall caloric intake and the addition of a daily step count goal. Now, the stack method consists of 5 layers. So you can think of these layers as bricks that you'll want to stack on top of each other in the following order to achieve the strongest and most durable outcome. This is an acronym, and the 5 letters stand for stability, tolerance, anabolic, compound, and kinetic. The two main components of any exercise or any program is exercise and nutrition, and I'll unpack each component as we dive into each of these 5 layers. Now, let me show you how we optimized each stage of the system for Paul so that he was no longer held back by his lack of experience, giving him the confidence he needed to take consistent action towards his health goals. So layer 1 is stability. Now, I know it's kind of cliche, but if you build a house on a wobbly foundation, it's not going to last very long. And that's definitely the case in regards to fitness. And Paul, he didn't have a strong base because he never trained before. So this phase was extremely important for him and laid a really strong foundation in both the weight room and the kitchen. Now, the two main objectives in this phase are to establish a consistent routine and to learn the basics. So here's how we were able to get Paul to establish a strong foundation in the gym. The main objective in this first phase is to get consistent and actually build a sustainable habit. At this point, it's not about having the perfect workout. For example, I didn't expect Paul to have the perfect squat form right out the gate, but he was expected to show up. And since he committed to 3 days per week of strength training, he was expected to show up all 3 days. That was the agreement that we made. And Paul didn't skip any days. Here's a screenshot of his profile, and he did a great job of really just setting the tone early on in his program. Now, the stack method is based around what I call the big five. These are extremely efficient strength exercises when done with good form. So I had Paul take a movement assessment to identify what he specifically needed to work on in order to improve his form and maximize his workouts. And throughout this phase, he performed the majority of his reps with light weights and with slow tempo to improve his mind muscle connection, and this gave his brain enough time to learn the movements and connect to the right muscles, which is really important if you want them to grow. Now, Paul also had a goal of running a 5K, so he added in a couple days of running on a treadmill to start improving his cardiovascular endurance. Now, just a quick side note about cardio. If you're watching this and you want to lose weight, more cardio isn't the answer. You want to use cardio as a means to improve cardiovascular fitness or endurance like Paul did because it's good for your heart. But if you're using it for the purpose of burning calories, you're better off tracking your daily step count and using your time in the gym to establish a resistance training routine. So at the bottom here is what Paul's routine started out as. And he just did an awesome job of sticking to the schedule that he committed to. And by setting that precedent early on, it created a really nice launching pad for the rest of the program. Now, at the end of the day, how you feel yourself and how you recover is 90% of the battle. So you have to get this part right. One of the first priorities before doing anything is to understand food at a basic level. Paul needed to understand that protein builds muscle between training sessions. Carbs and fats give you energy for your training sessions as well as your daily activities. And you need enough of all three macros, protein, carbs, and fats, in order to maximize muscle growth. I'm going to repeat that, all three of them. We don't want to cut any of these important nutrients out of our diet. And this is why it's important to track food. You need to gain awareness of what you're putting into your body. And in Paul's case, it was clear he just wasn't eating enough protein for him to stimulate any muscle growth. He also wasn't eating enough calories, which is why he was underweight. So we set some ideal numbers that we wanted him to reach by the time we got to the second phase of the program. The main one being 140 grams of protein per day. That number is really important. You're going to keep hearing that over and over in this presentation. Now, the third thing we worked on was creating better routines and better habits around food. Paul was only eating two, sometimes only one real meal per day, which isn't enough. And he wasn't giving himself enough opportunities to hit his numbers. So the first thing we did was add a breakfast and a protein shake to his daily routine. And just this small change alone made a massive difference. Now, here are a couple other routine related topics that we covered. Cooking gives you a lot more control and it's easier to track. So it was a good habit to start building for some of his meals. The healthy plate method is a practical guide on portion sizes and help Paul make better food decisions on the go. This one's especially helpful for my fat loss clients. Now, I like to call these at the bottom silent assassins because they have the potential to throw everything off. All right, sleep was actually one of the main things Paul was struggling with. We addressed this early on by having him shut his computer off at a specific time to go get his workout in as a way to signal the end of the workday so he wouldn't just keep working till midnight. And this strategy worked out great, and he started falling asleep faster and getting his full 7 to 8 hours per night. Now, the second phase is all about priming your system and building your tolerance up for more intense work down the line. We wanted Paul to get more confident with pushing himself both physically and mentally in the gym, and we wanted to prep his connective tissues and joints for higher loads. We also wanted to initiate more muscle growth and fat loss by improving his habits in the kitchen. Here's what we worked on in the gym. Since Paul didn't have any previous strength training under his belt to compare with, he didn't really know his limits because he never tried testing them before. And the last thing you want to do is ramp things up too fast too soon. So we used lighter weights and higher repetitions. And we slowly dialed up the intensity week by week until Paul started to reach what we call proximity to failure, which just means you're putting in a lot of effort by the last rep. Now, tracking effort is extremely important for building muscle, and we had to make sure Paul was consistently challenging himself in order to get results. So, one of the ways we tracked effort was by looking for visible signs through videos we recorded or he recorded. For example, you could see his face scrunching up in this clip to the right as he nears his last rep, and that's just a good indicator of effort. The second method was through tracking reps in reserve or RIR. This basically asks how many more reps do you have in the tank at the end of a set. And we wanted that number to be around 3 for most of his sets. Now, the last objective was to establish competency. So, exercise is still fairly new to him. So, one of the goals in this phase was just to maintain good form under fatigue. And as you can see in this picture, he's doing a great job of this as he reaches that last set of, or that last, the end of the last set for pull downs. Now, the focus up front on good form paid off big time as we progressed into higher intensities and more advanced loads. I'm not going to go over these for time's sake, but you can pause and read through these program specifics at the bottom. Now, as we ramped things up in the weight room, we also started dialing things in on the nutrition end. So we made sure Paul was actually getting his 140 grams of protein per day to maximize muscle growth. This remained a huge priority basically through his whole program. So you're going to keep seeing this pop up once again. If there's any note you should write down about protein, it's 1 gram per pound of lean body weight. This is a good rule of thumb that's going to help you stimulate lean muscle growth in addition to a good strength training program. Now, the second priority was to keep Paul's overall caloric intake around maintenance. That just means you're eating the same amount of calories that you burn, which means you're going to maintain the same weight. Reason being, I didn't want to increase his food intake too much too soon because he wasn't used to eating 3 meals a day. So the slow and steady approach is just smart because it let his digestive system adjust naturally to his new routine. Now, for fat loss clients, I take the same exact approach. I don't rush people into calorie restricted diets because I want them to establish a rhythm and routine. This is going to be counter to a lot of programs out there because it's the right thing to do. Eating at maintenance in these early stages is a practical, forward looking strategy that prevents mental exhaustion as you're learning new skills and you're trying to build new habits in both the gym and the kitchen. And that's just not an easy thing to do. And you have to remember, this is still within 8 weeks of starting from scratch. So perfection isn't the goal at this point. It's just getting consistent with your routines. That's the most important thing that's going to translate to long-term success. Now, another more fact-based reason that is, if you're a beginner, you have a ton of potential for new muscle growth within your first 6 months of training. And this is exactly what we saw with Paul. So as long as you're working hard in the gym, eating enough protein and keeping your overall calorie intake at maintenance, you can build muscle and lose a lot of fat without even needing to restrict calories from your diet. So don't fall for these crazy diets that you see on social media. It's better to learn about food at a basic level. Now, the third priority is to continue to get better and optimize daily routines until they work for you. And Paul, for example, he wasn't used to eating breakfast, so he had to figure out what his food preferences were and what the fastest and most convenient options were for him to make that a consistent habit. And there's an adjustment period where you have to get comfortable with trying new things. And this process of trial and error is how you make your diet not only healthy, but fun, which is really the only way to make it sustainable in the long run. So the anabolic layer is what I like to call the building phase. And during these 18 weeks is when we saw Paul really start to pack on lean muscle. And it's when he started noticing a huge difference in how his clothes fit. And he started getting a lot more compliments from other people. He also got really strong during this phase because he was constantly pushing himself in the gym. So, whoever's watching this, 75% of your time spent in the gym, probably for the rest of your life, should be in this zone. And if you're smart with your nutrition, you'll build the most muscle and burn the most fat by following this blueprint right here. So, the main objectives of this phase are to stimulate lean muscle growth, to accelerate fat loss, and to get stronger by following progressive overload. So, this is the gym playbook that Paul used to build muscle. If you can do these four things effectively, you're going to build muscle and you're going to get stronger. So, the first thing was to make sure Paul was training at enough volume throughout the week by targeting each of his major muscle groups around 12 sets per week on average, using various free weight and machine based exercises. 10 to 20 sets per week is the recommended range. And for Paul, 12 just got the job done. It's worth noting there is individual variation here. So you got to play around with it and find what works best for you. Now, he was able to knock this all out in a 3-day split, all in under 3.5 hours per week. So very efficient and very doable for anyone who's serious about getting results. Now, the second priority was to make sure Paul was working close to failure. Once again, a key component for stimulating muscle growth. So we made sure Paul was getting within 3 reps of failure for each of his working sets to maximize his time spent in the gym. Now, something a lot of people miss the mark on is something called progressive overload. This is key for both building muscle and strength. And the best way to stay on top of this is to track results every workout. So we had Paul keep track of the weights he was using as well as the effort he was putting into each set by adding results into his app. This way we could increase the intensity by a little bit each week so that he was constantly testing his limit and challenging his muscles to get stronger and adapt. Now we live in the modern day age, so we have phones where we can basically put our little journal on our phones. But if you were back in the 90s before smartphones existed, you would see people with their little notepads and pens doing the exact same thing. It's a really important thing to do if you want to gain progress. And a lot of people miss the mark on this and they just think they're going to remember what they do last week, which always ends up being a mistake because our memories just aren't that good. They really aren't. So this is a really key component. Now, the last one has to do with volume per set. The muscle building sweet spot lies within the 6 to 12 rep range. Now, that's a pretty big range to play around with, which is why this phase is 18 weeks long. We took a high to low approach with Paul and spent a good 4 to 6 weeks working within each rep zone. Now, the benefit of this approach, especially for beginners, is that it safely progresses you into heavier and heavier loads. So that's really it in terms of building muscle. It's not as complicated as people like to make it seem, but it doesn't mean it's easy, right? To do all four of these things effectively, it's going to take some mindset for you to get in there and crush those workouts consistently, which is exactly what Paul did. Now, here's what we did outside the gym to make sure Paul was able to recover between training sessions. Once again, protein count. We made sure he was getting his 140 per day. Now, another big priority in this phase was carbs. A lot of people still don't realize carbs are the primary energy source for strength training. So we had Paul eat plenty of carbs to boost his performance during his sessions. This helped him maximize his muscle growth throughout this phase. From a fat loss or weight loss perspective, you still want to eat carbs for the same reason Paul did. They're going to help you perform better in the gym, which is going to help you build muscle. The only difference is you need to make sure you stay in a caloric deficit if you want to accelerate fat burn. It's really just a numbers game, which is why it's important to track your calories as accurately as you can. So I listed out some general caloric deficit guidelines for anyone watching this that wants to lose weight and accelerate fat burn. The last point of focus in this phase is to get specific. Now that you're settling into your routines, you can start focusing on the nitty-gritty details that are actually going to move the needle. And based on your food log, you'll be able to identify specific areas that you're struggling with. For example, food volume refers to the nutrient density of food. If you want to lose weight and you're trying to burn fat, it's helpful to opt for higher volume foods where you'll get full and you'll get more nutrients on less calories. Another way to cut back on calories is by opting for lean sources of protein with less fat. Now, with my clients, I give a lot more support and a lot of resources depending on their specific struggle points, but these are just a few examples of things that can make a big difference. Now, after you successfully put on lean muscle, you can choose to either cycle back and try and build more muscle, or you can do what Paul did and focus on strength. And after putting on 15 to 20 pounds of lean muscle, Paul wanted to shift his focus on getting his new frame as strong and functional as possible by lifting heavy weights. Now, the objectives here are to lift heavy, continue to follow progressive overload, and to feed the beast. Just to give you an idea of what strength goals look like, here's a glimpse of what Paul's long-term goals are. He wants to squat 1.5 times his body weight. He wants to bench 1.2 times his body weight. And he wants to run a 10K, which isn't really a strength goal, but focusing on strength in the weight room can actually improve running performance. So I thought I'd add it in here. Now, here's a fun quote from Paul that just illustrates his mindset and his goal perfectly. I just want to be the guy. I want to be the guy that surprises people when they see me lift weights in the gym. And this actually captures the beauty of strength training in that the biggest, most muscular guy in the gym isn't always the strongest guy. A lot of people don't realize that looking strong and being strong are actually two different things. And this phase is less about looks and more about how well you can perform. Now, here's the playbook we use to get Paul past his initial strength goals. When it comes to strength training, load management is key. The heavier you go, the more taxing it is on the body. We were pretty conservative with the volume up front, sticking with only 3 to 6 heavy sets per week for both the front squat and the bench press, which are the two exercises he wanted to get better at. Now, this was plenty of stimulus for him to get stronger, and there was really no need to push his limits here because it's not like he was training for a competition. So we wanted to stick with the minimum effective dose. The rep range for strength is always going to be on the low end, anywhere between 4 and 6 reps, which means you're lifting heavy weights. In regards to effort, the mentality is the same, but we made sure to emphasize something called form failure, which is when you reach a point in your set where you can't perform additional reps using proper form. And I made sure Paul understood this concept so he wasn't risking injury by muscling up reps with bad form. Now, the last point of emphasis was progressive overload, which we talked about in the last phase. So Paul continued to track his results every workout meticulously so we were able to make smart adjustments week to week. Nutrition during a strength phase should focus on improving performance. This means hitting your protein count as always, and you also want to make sure you feed the beast. If you don't eat enough calories in this phase, you're not going to perform as well and you're not going to recover as well. Strength training is a high intensity form of training, so you need the protein and you need the calories to keep your muscles and your joints healthy. Even if you have a weight loss goal, you might want to consider taking your foot off the gas pedal and enjoy some extra calories to boost performance and recover during a strength phase. It can actually give you a nice mental break from having to be so strict with tracking food for weeks. And by focusing on getting stronger, you actually can boost your muscle building potential when you cycle back into a hypertrophy phase. Now, the kinetic layer isn't for everyone, but I highly encourage it. As humans, we're designed to move like athletes, and things like running, sprinting, and jumping, they're all fundamental human abilities that we all have. And for some reason, when we get a job and we go into our 30s, they kind of become a lost art in a sense. So whenever I have clients that demonstrate basic competence in the weight room, I always suggest adding this layer in just to spice things up a bit and make the program more fun and engaging if it makes sense for their goals. And in Paul's case, it did. Since Paul wanted to run a 5K, he wanted to make sure he was running efficiently and with good mechanics to decrease the impact on his joints. So I had him start performing running specific drills before his runs to improve his posture and coordination while running. And This helped a lot. He made significant improvements as a result. And now running's a habit that he really enjoys, and it's something he's able to do that keeps him active and takes his mind off of work. So there you have it. The Stack Method isn't just your run of the mill weight loss program. It's designed to transform your lifestyle and give you the confidence to stay functional, strong, and lean for years to come. With Paul, he's loved his progress so much, he doesn't want to stop. He never realized he was able to build as much muscle as he did, let alone squat more than 1 times his body weight. But the biggest win is how he views himself. Fitness and health are just part of his identity now, which means he's confident and he's able to stay active and maintain this habit for the rest of his life. Now that you understand exactly how this process works, I have an offer for you. If you're a busy, high performer at work and you've gained 10 to 20 pounds of fat over the last few years, if you're desk ridden and hunched over from long hours at the office, if you're a beginner like Paul who wants to get fitness right the first time, and you're looking to improve functional strength so you can move freely and live comfortably and perform the way you want to perform without limitations, if you're looking to build muscle and lose body fat so you can look better and feel more confident when you're out with your friends, and if you're looking to transform your habits so you can maintain a healthy lifestyle forever, I will personally help you put on 5 to 10 pounds of lean and functional muscle mass so you can perform your best. And I'll help you lose up to 20 pounds of body fat, all in 180 days or less using the Stack Method. And that's not all. I'll refund you if it doesn't work. And I will put that guarantee in writing. So if you're not ecstatic about your results and you don't love the way you look and feel after 180 days of joining this program, you'll get your money back. That's how confident I am in this Stack Method. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, wow, this is exactly what I need right now, a practical, sustainable way to build muscle and lose body fat and get the body I've been dreaming about, and it works with my lifestyle and doesn't force me to change who I am, if that's you, then what you can do is go into the description below this video, go ahead and click the link in there, and it'll bring you to my calendar so you can book a phone call with me where I'll dive deep with you on your goals. I'll find out where you're at, where you want to be, and then it's just a matter of what are the obstacles in your way and how we can weave the Stack Method into your lifestyle so you can overcome them. So if you're interested in learning more and you feel motivated and ready to take action, don't wait for tomorrow. Click the link, schedule the call, do it now, and I'll see you on the other side. I appreciate your time. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. I'm just stepping out, getting a little workout in since I've been and sitting in front of a computer for 45 minutes straight. So I got to loosen these hips up. But I hope you're able to find something in this video. I really do. Something that you can apply to your fitness and your lifestyle, something practical. And if you are looking for a little more hands-on guidance and you need a little extra help, there's really no pressure on the call. It's just a conversation about your fitness and to see, one, if we're a good fit, and two, where the Stack Method could fit into your lifestyle. So if you're thinking about it, don't hesitate. Click on that link, book a call. I would love to talk to you. So have a great day. I really appreciate it.